International delegates have gathered for climate change talks in Lima, Peru this week, hoping to build the framework for a plan to cut the world's heat-trapping gas emissions. Secretary of State John Kerry arrived there today to help with that new accord. But for many Peruvians, the focus is local, as mining and timber operations encroach into once pristine areas inhabited by indigenous tribes. Jeffrey Brown is in Lima and has this report, part of his series, Culture at Risk.
There were dancers and drummers, banners and chants, traditional clothing of all kinds. A march of thousands, many of them tribal people, that shut down part of downtown Lima for several hours, demanding better protection of their lands and their cultures. They came from near and far, some very far. This group from the Ucayali region in eastern Peru had traveled for several days by boat, plane, and bus to get here from their remote homes. Romaldo Villacorta heads the group.
For us, as an indigenous population, it's important to be here because we want to stop climate change. We used to have regular seasons, summer and winter, during which we planted our seeds. But now, with the climate changing, we can work the land, but sometimes we cannot plant seeds. There is no production.
This demonstration was set up as a kind of counterpoint to the official climate talks going on across town. The idea is to raise awareness about the increasing and increasingly violent encroachment on tribal lands in Peru and elsewhere around the globe. Throughout the crowd, portraits of one of the martyrs of this movement, Edwin Chota, a Peruvian environmental activist from the Ashanica Indian tribe who'd spent years fighting illegal logging on his community's lands. In September, Chota and 3 others from the village of Soweto were shot and killed near the Brazilian border. In the vast Amazon basin that's home to about half of Peru's more than 1,500 indigenous communities, with some 300,000 people. Chota had spoken of threats he received as he fought to gain official title to his lands and keep loggers at bay.
They are loggers, they have arms, they have everything, and they are never going to pay attention to us. So we need the support of government institutions to protect the region at the border.
Chota's remains were found by a river near his home. 2 loggers have been charged with his murder. That and other incidents led the advocacy group Global Witness to declare Peru one of the world's most dangerous countries for environmental activists. And by all accounts, illegal logging, mining, and drug trafficking have been on the rise in this area. The World Bank estimates, for example, that some 80% of Peru's timber exports were cut without a permit. In Lima this week, Patricia Balbuena, Vice Culture Minister who oversees indigenous relations, said the government is working to resolve land ownership disputes, but that administrations past and present have struggled to ensure legal rights and safety in these distant communities.
These are
remote areas with very little government presence because of geographical barriers. For example, from the capital of the Pucallpa region to the community of Soweto, it takes 6 to 8 days by boat. That is why the most important issue is to assure the government's presence, not only in terms of a military or police presence, but also in what a government should provide to its indigenous populations: health, education, social services, and security.
Encroachment deep into Amazon forest may also be behind scenes like this, as previously isolated or uncontacted tribes come into the open. Last year, more than 100 members of the Mashco Piro tribe appeared at a river in southeast Peru. Anthropologist Beatriz Huerta studies groups like this who've chosen to live apart from civilization. She thinks she knows why more are now making contact.
I think that first of all it's owed to the great pressures on their lands and natural resources, and that those are forcing these isolated peoples to alter their ways and are leading to their displacement.
There are more such tribes than you might think. The advocacy group Survival International estimates there are 15 in Peru alone, and at least 100 around the globe. The highest concentration is here in the Amazon. Citing the threat of contagious disease and other problems that have decimated previously uncontacted tribes, Beatriz Huerta says the government needs to take immediate action.
To protect them, it's necessary to officially recognize their lands and to establish a series of protection mechanisms to guarantee their lives, their health, and the right of these populations to decide for themselves what lives they want to live.
I asked Vice Minister Balbuena the overarching question how Peru can foster investment and growth while also protecting vulnerable people and cultures.
I think we always feel we need to do more. I think the demands of the indigenous peoples require us to act faster. And we can't advance a peaceful society if we don't find a balancing point between growth on the one hand and respect and protection of rights on the other.